Okay, so let's come to Introduction to HTML and CSS in the Foundations course. So introduction. So here it is. It's time to actually start making things. The section will teach you the basics of HTML and CSS, the two foundational building blocks of pretty much everything on the web. The lesson overview. This section contains overview of topics that you will learn in this lesson. Get a basic overview of HTML, CSS, and how they work together. HTML and CSS. HTML and CSS are two languages that work together to create everything that you see when you look at something on the internet. HTML is the raw data that a web page is built out of. All the text, links, cards, lists, and buttons are created in HTML. CSS is what adds style to those plain elements. HTML puts information on a web page, and CSS positions that information, gives it color, changes the font, and makes it look great. Many great resources out there keep referring to HTML and CSS as programming languages, but if you want to get technical, labeling them as such is not quite accurate because they are only concerned with presenting information. They are not used to program any logic. JavaScript, which you will be learning in the next section, is a programming language because it's used to make web pages do things. Yet there is quite a lot you can do with just HTML and CSS, and you will definitely need them both. The following lessons focus on giving you the tools you need to be successful once you get to the JavaScript content as you continue through our curriculum. So look at the assignments that are available. Read HTML versus CSS versus JavaScript. It's a quick overview of relation between HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. In the knowledge check section, you'll be looking at what do HTML and CSS stand for. Between HTML and CSS, which should you use for putting paragraphs or of text on a web page? Definitely HTML. Between HTML and CSS, which would you use for changing the font and background color of a button? This will be CSS because it's styling. What is the difference between HTML, CSS, and JavaScript? In additional resources, you have a free code camp article which goes into little more depth than the assigned one. It covers things we'll be teaching explicitly in later lessons, though, so don't worry about memorizing any of the details. Bookmark devdocs.io. Read the welcome message, massive API documentation collection that even works offline. An essential collection of reference material for everything covered and more, maintained by Free Code Camp. With that, we'll move on to the next lesson.